What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. In fact, welcome to PCP Movie Night. It's the show where we gather every Monday night and talk about the movie of the week. We all go watch it, we gather, and we discuss it along with you out there in the chat. Tonight, we're continuing Crew's Choice, where the crew gets to pick the movies, but this year, it all has to involve Tom Cruise. So tonight, we're talking about the 2002 Philip K. Dick adaptation by Steven Spielberg, starring Tom Cruise and Colin Farrell. We're doing Minority Report. Now, this was Brian and Fable's pick. Two members of the crew picked this movie, and neither of them are here tonight. So, you know what? We ain't need Fable. We ain't need Brian, because we got a John Castle Spiliotopoulos. What is up, homie?
Station. Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate you.
Dude, always excited to have you here. This is your second time on the channel doing a movie night review with us, so super pumped. And I found out today this is your first watch of Minority Report.
Yeah, for some reason back in except for Legend, I wasn't really a big Tom Cruise fan like I am now. So, and I know this sounds stupid, but I found out too that it was directed by Steven Spielberg. I had no idea. So, it was cool. It was cool.
There you go. Usually the first timer on every PCP movie night is Brooks, but probably not this time. Right, Brooks?
I suppose.
I mean, you've seen the film before.
I've seen part of it. Like I remember seeing probably like the first half of it back in the day, but I never watched it all the way through. So I kind of like I knew I knew the premise, but I didn't know like how the end. So well, it's kind of like I was watching it for the first time, really.
All right. Well, this seems like the kind of movie that's set up for pop culture philosophers, right? Because it's about like free will versus determination, predestination, that kind of stuff. And you know, if we're gonna really bring the philosophy tonight, we got to have the missing link himself. It's my buddy Steph. What is up, homie?
What up, fellas? I appreciate that intro, Robbie. Beautiful, beautiful. Glad to be here specifically for tonight because I was supposed to be on Risky Business with Sir John Spilios, and I was having tech issues, so I couldn't make it. So I'm even more excited to be here tonight, specifically for Spilio. But I'm always glad to be here.
I am excited too to see you, Steph. Thank you. It's awesome to be together.
Oh, I had my mic muted. You couldn't hear me. I was wanting you to know that, like, Steph in particular messaged me and said, any show with John, let me know.
Oh,
I think we'll also all be together on awesome Action Fest movie. Speaking of Action Fest, this is a dude who gets a lot of action at festivals. This is Joe Corallo. What is up, my man?
Hello. Not much. I'm just here to talk about Minority Report with all of you fine folk.
And rounding out the panel, last but certainly not least, the birthday boy himself. We're just coming off the high of Jelani week, so let's bring in Jelani. What is up, my man?
What's up?
Oh, since you're last, you gotta do the Brooks bit. Is that what you're doing here?
I know, man. Doing what I can.
All right. Well, let's talk about Minority Report. This movie right here. Which I watched in the theaters when it first came out. Like, I am a huge Philip K. Dick fan. This is the collection I have that has this exact short story in there, as well as the Adjustment Team, which they made the Adjustment Bureau out of. Blade Runner is based on one of his stories. There's Scanner Darkly, Screamers. There's so many, Total Recall. There's so many films that are adapted from Philip K. Dick's work, right? And I am a huge fan of Dick, right? Happy Pride. But I'm also just a huge fan of Philip K. Dick, right? He absolutely soars to me as my favorite science fiction writer. Like, I love the way he thinks. He's kind of got like this. There's three of my favorite fiction writers all have an experience of otherworldly communication, right? Philip K. Dick, Grant Morrison, and Robert Anton Wilson, right? So I really seem to be led to these people, right? Plus, I would say that I am a Steven Spielberg fan. I don't like every movie with Steven Spielberg does, especially movies he does with Tom Cruise. I think War of the Worlds fucking blows, but I do remember loving Minority Report when it first came out. So I loved it back then. It was always something. I mean, I remember owning it on DVD. I now got the Blu-ray, which has got like one of the shittiest fucking covers you can imagine. Like that's the cover for this fucking Blu-ray. Get the fuck out of here. Who is this? 20th Century Fox, DreamWorks, Paramount? Y'all are terrible. But on the rewatch, I actually liked it a little bit less. There's certain things that kind of came out at me that I didn't appreciate, I guess, as much as I was. What's crazy is 2002, y'all. Jelani Brooks, you know, I'm in snobby Robbie phase, right? But now that I'm more trying to experience these movies, I'm like, oh, I got some issues with it. My main issue is this: the comedy in Minority Report to me feels very out of place and out of nowhere. It's a very dark subject, right? And a very real subject. We're talking about diving deep into like free will versus predestination and all this kind of stuff. This dude's kid was kidnapped and possibly murdered, probably murder, right? There's some dark elements to this. And then, no, let's just have him eat the wrong fucking spoiled sandwich. Let's just have like this whole like weird fucking geriatrics on fucking what are they called? Jetpacks kind of scene. I don't know. The humor kind of threw me out of it a little bit. Like if you look at the music by John Williams, right? A lot of John Williams scores sound like John Williams, but this one I think he's actually stretching a little bit, not as much as Catch Me If You Can, which I do think is a solid ass movie. But like with the music, the tone, the atmosphere, it just the comedic bits kind of threw me off a little bit on this rewatch. Also, I actually don't like the cinematography as much as I did back in the day. The overexposed, overblown nature where everything is like so like bright and white, like it kind of bothered me a little bit in this movie, but there's still a lot about this movie I like. I do think it's a decent adaptation. It's different than the short story. In the short story, Anderton is actually the head of the pre-crime division. It's set in New York. There's this whole idea of a post-war America where you have the executive branch is gone. There's the Senate, there's the military, and there's the police. And the police are able to hold on to control because of pre-crime. And pre-crime in the book doesn't just predict murders. And there's a little bit of a different dynamic between Colin Farrell's character. What is his name? Wilder, something like that. There's a little bit of a different dynamic between those two characters. But I do still like this movie. I do think this movie's pretty solid. It's not the best Tom Cruise movie that we've revisited here during Cruise Choice. It's not the best Steven Spielberg movie, in my opinion. But I do still like it, but I like it less than I did back in the day. But I'm excited to have this conversation, and it's going to be a nice philosophical conversation. So, Spilio, this was your first time watching. What did you think about Minority Report?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it very much. And especially, what was this? 2002? Is that correct? That the technology that they use, it's still futuristic. There's a little Avengers with the swiping and all stuff like that. And for 2002, that's actually pretty cool, And I don't remember this coming out. I think maybe because I don't know why, but 2002, I don't know why I didn't see it. But the one thing I did realize is, how does Tom Cruise look older in that movie than he does now? That's one thing.
Scientology.
It's Scientology.
New clone, dude. They busted out a new clone.
Yeah, he's cloned and all. But I thought it was very good and very touching with the son, because I didn't know about that part. So, and having a kid myself, that really hit home. Yeah, that one scene with the flying policeman, the jetpack, I thought that was so stupid. That almost threw me out of the movie. He just kicks one guy and the guy goes flying. I'm like, come on. But overall, I thought the movie was very good. I really enjoyed it.
Heck yeah, that's really super cool. So, Brooks, this is kind of like your first time watching it. What'd you think about Minority Report?
It was all right. This is one of the most okay movies I've seen in a while.
Woo! Yeah, bring it, Brooke.
I was like completely neutral on it. It's like, because I really like the concept and the idea behind it. And like, it does say something about, but like, like you say, like the comedy, a lot of the comedy is like just weird and out of place. Like there's a lot of confusing shit in it. Like the scene where he's like on the fucking conveyor belt, and then like the thing comes down and I'm like, oh, he's dead, right? And I'm like, no, he's not gonna fucking come out like inside of a fucking assembled car, is he? And he fucking did. I'm like, you're fucking shitting me, dude.
He should have been a transformer, man.
Yeah, he should have been dead. He should have been blood. Just blood under this car. But it does have its moments too. Like, I didn't hate it, but I feel like I feel like it didn't live up to its potential, I guess. Because I really do like the idea of like a kind of dystopian society where like, it's actually kind of a utopia because there's no crime, but at the same time, like, they're just like taking people who haven't committed crimes and like putting them in the fucking fridge or some shit. Like they don't even really get much into like what they're actually doing with these people. I guess they just like, put them in stasis, like in Demolition Man sort of, but like, it's not like, you don't really learn like, how sentencing works. Like, do they get a trial or any of that shit? Like, so I think it needed to go a little bit more. So to me, it was just all right.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend reading the original short story. I think you might get more like, I think you can sink your teeth into that one a little bit more philosophically, but it does carry some of the stuff. But yeah, you're right. The comedy, some of these bits, like it does kind of not work for me, but it's Spielberg, right? It's Spielberg being like, oh, we need comedy, right? And like, you really see the MCU influence from Spielberg in movies like Minority Report, right? Where you're taking that serious matter and stuff, but there is a lot of cool visual stuff. Like John, you were pointing out the computers, how they're like swiping and all that kind of shit, right? And there's a lot of stuff that's in this movie that actually kind of exists in reality today, just a little bit, but in a different way. What about you, Link? What do you think about Minority Report?
I enjoy this one overall. It's not, Tom Cruise and Spielberg definitely have better films out there, but I think it holds up well. I think John made a good point about this coming out in 2002, and it still is visually appealing. I agree with you, Robbie. They were a little strong on the blue tint. It was like, how the Matrix had the green tint or the green saturation? This shit had a heavy blue throughout it. I really remember digging it when I was younger. Kind of comes off really extreme now. But overall, I think, it was a solid story. Solid film and very entertaining. And sometimes with like science fiction films or just stories, like particularly films, like sometimes the director will focus on like the ideas the movie presents, or they'll focus on like the character's journey. And Spielberg opted for, it's a Tom Cruise vehicle at the end of the day, but he opted for the character's journey, and a lot of the concepts kind of get, swept under the table, unfortunately. But I think it holds up well. I mean, it's 2000. I think John makes a great point. 2002, we got to remember what was coming out around that time. And the fact that, the Tony Stark computer shit he's doing, that still looks good. I got to give it props for that. But overall, I think it's a good film. Very fun.
Yeah, all right. Very good and pretty fun, man. So what about that sounds like that sounds like the description of a Joe Corallo book. 100%.
Thank you.
So what do you think, Joe? What do you think about Minority Report?
You're asking me my opinions on Lexus Presents The Minority Report, featuring what was it, Aquafina,
Guinness,
but
Reebok.
Ben and
but
Jerry.
No, I'll tell you what I think about the Minority Report, or I guess you could call this the Minority Report adapted for idiots. The short story is so thoughtful and interesting and deals with like actual moral quandaries, and characters are actually like morally gray, like everyone is, and which I happen to own in this set I conveniently have next to me for this. The Folio Society put out this excellent edition of selected Philip K. Dick short stories. Look at that shit.
Nice.
Why you
Fucking
gotta outdo
crazy.
me, Joe? I thought I was like coming strong with this thing. Like,
Yeah, no, it's really good. And but yeah, this is basically Steven Spielberg thinking we're all idiots and like, how do I make a movie that these dumb fucks will understand? And that's sort of how he approaches the material. You know, I do think like and in a more serious note, Steven Spielberg he read this and was probably like, I don't understand this, so I'm gonna make it so that way let's do like the family dynamic and stuff like that. Let's do the kid and the ex-wife thing, because none of that's in the fucking story, because the story's about like important stuff. So that stuff works in this movie. Does a really great job of humanizing the characters, playing to like playing on your heartstrings and stuff like that. I do think that stuff's effective, and that's part of what I think makes the movie work. I think there's multiple action set pieces in the movie, as preposterous, that are engaging, and you know, there are moments in it. I saw this in theaters. I've seen this a few times. I own the DVD, and there are moments, you know, again, like I haven't watched this in years, so I'm like, how the fuck does he get out of this one again? You know, because they do a really good job with those action set pieces, making it, you know, like, how does he get out of this? You know, they don't make that too obvious. There's a lot of obvious stuff in the movie, but I thought the action set pieces, particularly like the really long one where he's like, you know, gets into the factory and all that too, does a good job at that. It's for the most part very well acted. The comedy blows. Like one of the worst moments in the movie is when he drops his eyes and he's like chasing after them, and then the score might as well be like whoop whoop whoop, you know, might as well be, it was like a comedy. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is a moment where his only chance at freeing himself relies on him having those eyes. Again, why they didn't wipe him from the system, I mean, that's the biggest fucking plot hole known to mankind.
Yeah.
But that
we all know if you got fired from your retail job tomorrow, they're changing the locks. You know what I'm saying?
The same day.
They do not care.
The same day.
But like,
you're done. Yeah.
But in the book, like in the short story, that would make sense. Why he would still be able to access the building. But yeah, oh my God. Again, like, don't watch this movie and then read the story or vice versa close together, because holy shit, is it leaps and bounds way ahead of this dumb movie. But like light years ahead. And that's not every Philip K. Dick adaptation. I think it speaks more to how little Steven Spielberg thinks of us as people. You know, so I'll wrap up there.
All right. Well, you know, Joe, I never want you to feel like you have to hold back here, just so you know. All right.
You know, I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's opinions.
He's like, I know I pissed off that one dude with the Amazing Spider-Man bashing on Thursday night. So,
no, for sure. But and in all fairness, I thought I was being pretty tame. Like, you know.
Jesus wept.
Yeah, I know. All right. And speaking of Jesus wept, Jelani wept too, bro. What about you? What do you think about Minority Report, bro?
Well, I was just gonna say it was mid, but damn. It is a very mid movie. It's very just okay. It's procedural. The music is very mid. I hate the sepia, bright, oversaturated whatever that is that we were doing back then. I hate that. I really do.
It doesn't make you think it looks like the future.
No, not at all. The CG is dated. You can tell. Even the house that Abigail and the brothers are in at the end, it looks dull. It looks like it was fake. It looked very fake. And there's just a lot of things in this movie. I was just like, all right, you see, and and the biggest crime of it is that it's 2 hours and like 25 minutes long.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours long, man.
Why? What?
Sure the hell is.
You're
Sure
not
the
even,
hell is. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, Spielberg thought he was gonna get an Oscar off this bad boy. And I'm like, no, son, no, this ain't it. This ain't it. It's one of these movies where like this was in my period where I did not like Tom Cruise, and it was justified. This is very justified. He's very bland in this movie. He's not memorable in any way. The characters are all right. I mean, they do their job, but once again, they're mid like everybody else, like everything else in this movie. The story is very loose because how are you going to base your entire justice system on 3 people? And one could die, and like you don't have a system anymore. What, you're growing more people? Are you doing this? What's the plan? You can't just have a this sounds like
and in the short story, there's more to that because there's like this like nuclear war that happens. There's mutants out there, and it's the mutants that like are the precogs, right? And in this one, it's like some drug or something.
We grew some people in a test tube, and this happened, or we gave them drugs or something. I don't know.
Their family, their parents were addicted to that drug that Tom Cruise is taking, right?
Yeah, the Clarity or whatever it's called. It's just,
Claritin. It's Claritin.
Yeah, Claritin for your nose. It's just so it's so bleh. Like, to be as long as you are and not explain what's going on and not what's doing, it's just it's super mid. It's just super mid. That's all. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's just
Well, I would say that
watching this in the theater. I remember
I wouldn't say it's great, but I would say it's good. Like, I do still enjoy this movie. I do like, Jillian, you can say whatever you want. Like, I mean, it's okay, man. I am not sitting here trying to defend or apologize for this fucking movie to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, Risky Business, I'll fucking stand up for that one. You know what I'm saying? That one blew me away.
That was good. That's a better movie than this.
But I would argue that Tom Cruise, though, was good in this film. I actually did like his performance in this film.
He's not terrible. It's like I said.
He does not look good as a bald man, though. I'm going to tell you that. So he better hope Scientology keeps those follicles in lock. You know what I'm saying, man? But now let's talk about the characters. Let's talk about the performances. Since the people who have picked this movie are not here, I'm going to go first. I'm going to pick Colin Farrell as Danny Whitwer in this film. I really like Colin Farrell in this movie. First of all, he's cute, so that doesn't hurt, right? But I really like there's a different dynamic in the short story, but I do feel like Colin Farrell plays opposite of Tom Cruise very well in this film, and he does a great job of like being kind of like snarky and being a little bit arrogant, and we feel like immediately like we don't like that fucking guy. Anybody who chews gum so fucking much as him in this movie, fuck that person, right? Like, come on, man, get real. But I think he plays that so well because we find out later on in the movie that he's not the antagonist. It's actually the old dude who's in charge of the pre-crime division, right? Which is way different than the short story. The short story didn't have that character in it. It's Anderton the whole way. He's the dude who started it and all that kind of stuff. All the stuff with the kid is there. But the reason why I'm going to pick Colin Farrell is because he's cute, and his reaction to getting shot, I thought was great, right? Like, he kind of has this he gets in on the joke a little bit. So I think Colin Farrell, especially at this time, got a lot of hate for some reason. but I think Colin Farrell's a great actor. I mean, Banshees of Inisherin, just watch that movie. That's probably his best performance, right? But at this time when he's doing this, he's a few years away from doing Daredevil. I know we don't like to talk about that Daredevil movie, but I love his Bullseye, honestly.
Trash.
So I really do like Colin Farrell. I really do. What about you, Castle? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Before I go there, I want to go back to Colin Farrell. If you go into that scene, I think they were in the elevator when Cruz has the gun to his neck and he's smiling, and Farrell, he's smiling because he knows, he goes, look, I didn't hear about any murder. And all of a sudden the siren goes on that there's a murder happened. His face just went like white. I thought that was a really good acting. So the one that I like is I actually like Fletcher. I forget the gentleman's name. It was his friend that I forget his name. Dang it. Anyway, but
Neil
Fletcher
McDonough.
Yes, yeah. I liked him because you actually in a couple scenes you saw his face saying, "Hey, buddy, I really don't want to do this, but can you, give us a bone, help us here? I don't want to do this.
Please don't run, motherfucker. I'm tired.
Yeah,
Please don't run.
And then he goes, everybody runs. So I really liked the couple scenes that he was in, and that he's a tremendous actor anyway, but I actually, since this is my first time watching it, he always plays a bad guy, so I thought maybe he had something to do with it too, like, oh, this guy's the asshole, but it wasn't. But anyway, I really enjoyed his part. He added a lot with a little things that he had to do. Yeah.
He's one of those dudes who's like a face, you see him in so many movies and you're like, who is that guy? Right. And he's great as one of the villains in Justified. If anybody's ever watched Justified, he's in Justified.
Absolutely.
He's great in that one. So I'm glad that you mentioned him, because I do love that bit too, where he's like, come on, bro, don't run. please, man, please. All right, Brooks, what about you? Any characters or performances stand out?
I like I guess he would be the main villain, the old timer. Like, I thought he had a pretty good performance. Like, because like in the beginning, like, he only gets like a little bit of time in the beginning where it's like it's established, that he's trusted by the main character. He's like, he's someone he considers a really close friend. And like, like I actually got caught. The twist got me on this one. Like, and I really like that the idea of like, him like setting up basically a double murder to cover up his own tracks. Like this idea that this guy, he's because he has so much knowledge of how pre-crime works, he's able to think of a way around pre-crime by like using this concept of like, a kind of a shadow seeing to like, hide his crime. And like, so I thought it was good. It was a good performance by this guy, this old guy.
It wasn't.
What's the actor's name? I've seen him in a lot of stuff, but I can't remember his name.
His name is Max von Sydow.
Yeah, Max von Sydow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always refer to him as Christopher Plummer Light, right?
He's
Just
Ming.
a little bit.
Isn't he Ming from Flash Gordon?
He is Ming from Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Yes. He is also the Exorcist.
Did anybody else notice that the woman he murders is the main character from Suspiria and Shock Treatment? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I did.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Cool. Yeah, I do like him in the movie though, but there's a part of me that feels like that's a little too, like, really, I don't know. It's almost like the Wolfman remake where you're like, oh, the dad's a bad guy too, that kind of fucking thing. But I did like that spiel right there. So there he is. Steph, what about you? What's a performance you want to highlight?
I'll go with the precogs, specifically the twins. They played excellent background characters. No, I'll go with the main precog. I think she played the performance she did give, towards Agatha. The end of the movie was, Agatha. Yeah, thank you. Almost like a fish out of water, since she spent most of her life sleeping. Everything was like brand new to her, and she pulled that off quite well. She reminded me of like the way she talks sometimes. Like it reminded me of like Blindfold from X-Men. You know, like shit that didn't really not too much, but you know,
Just to
sometimes
ask if it's
sense-
now.
Right. But yeah, I'll go with Agatha. She was very effective for the screen time she had.
Yeah, she's really good. And all the precogs are named after mystery writers, right? So like Agatha, like for Agatha Christie, or sci-fi writers, because then there's Arthur, like Arthur Conan Doyle, and the next one is Dash, and I don't really know the connection there. What about you, Joe? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Uh-oh.
I mean, you picked all the people worth a damn, honestly. So fuck it. I don't know. Tom Cruise. I guess he was pretty good. But really, I mean, after, like, honestly, guys, is there anyone else worth a damn past the people you mentioned? Like, really? Like, everyone else is pretty, like, a lot of over the top shitty acting that doesn't quite gel with the rest of what's going on. And
I don't know. I like
the
perp in the beginning, right? I like the perp in the beginning. He's good.
Yeah, we're talking about like Rob. You know what we're talking about. We're talking to people in the whole movie. Like that was honestly, I was thinking of going there because the perp in the beginning was a highlight, but I was like, I'm not going to do that because we're trying to talk about these like characters who are in like the whole fucking movie. So yeah, Tom Cruise, he was good. His ex-wife kind of sucks in this. Like I wish I could have picked her, but she kind of sucks. Like, you know, it's like, and she has like, and a lot of that's the script. I thought she was given a really shit script, like for her character, where she has to be the dumbest person alive until she suddenly puts it all together. It's like, are we this shitty at our jobs, guys? Spielberg, this your first fucking movie or what, buddy? Like, get with it. So yeah, Tom Cruise, he was good.
What about you, Julie?
Damn. Woo! Yeah, there was one other person I liked, and she's my first choice. So I'm glad that no one picked her. It was the lady with the traps, the Hyman lady. Precog.
Poison Ivy.
Yeah,
Poison Ivy. Yeah, I liked her a lot. She was my first choice. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pick her because like. She could act worth a damn. She stole a kiss from. She stole the kiss from Tom Cruise for no random reason. Yeah. I thought that
really
was cute.
riveting 2.5 minutes.
Yeah,
of a 2.5 hour fucking movie.
It was a long ass movie. Yes. Hey, I'm trying to save lemons, man. I'm trying to make lemonade. Calm down. Trying to make lemonade. Yes. I thought she was fine. I thought she was good in her parts. She was all right in her what she had to do with her exposition dump. I don't know. I just liked her scene. Her scene was intriguing to me for some odd reason because everything else was just. It's just
it was good because Spielberg thinks you're so fucking stupid. She has her grab the fucking thing and strangle it and cut herself. And it's like, you know, Tom Cruise, like I'm assuming that guy graduated high school. He knows what you fucking mean. You don't have to like cut yourself. Like what are you doing?
Maybe it gives her like, I don't know, more poison ivy powers or something if she gets to find that fruit, that thing.
She's just preparing for a job at Hogwarts, man. Come on.
Yeah, whatever. She's a horticulturist, man. What are you gonna do?
I'm surprised nobody picked the nurse with the eye that freaking kept on singing rhymes.
Oh no, she grabbed Tom Cruise's butt. Yeah, she grabbed Tom Cruise's butt on the way out. I was like, yeah.
You know, the other one I really like is the fucking, I think he's a Russian dude or whatever who plays like that doctor.
Yeah,
he's
Peter
a bunch of stuff.
Stormare.
I actually liked him in this movie a little bit.
So
I'm like, wait, you got like a grudge against this dude and you ain't gonna do nothing about it, really? Like, it's weird, man, but whatever.
Yeah, that's part of it. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it's like this, you know, it was like, I don't know, it was like Chekhov's apathetic sigh. Like,
Wow. Wow.
like there
Jesus.
was nothing. It's like you weren't going to give him like maybe the thing he injects his face with doesn't work, or like he's blind no matter what, or like nothing. He's just like, I'm going to talk to you for a minute and a half in this 2.5 hour fucking movie.
Joe goddamn
about,
counting fucking seconds in every scene in this movie.
about how I'm going to get my revenge and nothing. Who cares?
The end.
All right, let's talk about the style and the structure. Style-wise, I don't like the cinematography. I don't like the overblown, overexposed kind of nature of the film. It like, I think I liked it more back then, but for some reason now it just doesn't work for me. It feels cheap, and I think it's trying to hide like, and I don't mind the CG. I think the CG is fine, especially for 2002. And when I was first watching it, I was like, is this Spielberg trying to like one up his buddy George Lucas? You know, like with his stuff in Star Wars. Then I realized, oh no, this actually came out before most of those Star Wars prequels. So was George trying to rip off fucking Steven? But I mean, there's so many scenes in here. Like the car bit reminds me of C-3PO in the fucking droid factory, right? Like, oh, I'm so confused. Like, I hate that fucking shit. And it seems like Spielberg, I feel like Spielberg has always wanted, I feel like the one director Spielberg's like envious of is George Lucas for some fucking reason. And I think this was his opportunity to like do some Lucas-isms in his film. The comedy throws me off. So structurally for a 2.5 hour movie, I don't think it feels long, right? I just watched that new ambient slasher that they're talking about in A Violent Nature. It's an hour and a half long. I felt like I was in the theater for 4 fucking hours. This is 2.5 hours that doesn't feel like that to me. So I think the pace is quick personally, but it's the comedy. It like throws off the tone of the film to me. And it like a movie that should be very serious at times, like loses that with the comedic elements, right? So it kind of throws me off. Like imagine if Color Purple had like a fucking every 15 minutes, there had to be some kind of like joke, like major joke or sequence put in there. But aside from that, I do think the structure's fine. I think that the adaptation, the script is okay. It's decent. Now, I am more of a fan of the original short story, but it's Philip K. Dick. You know, I'm not expecting too much because most of the adaptations of his work are vastly different. You know, like Blade Runner, as much as I love Blade Runner, it ain't Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. You know what I'm saying? There's an element that's missing, in particular, the empathy stuff. But I do think that some of the themes kind of carry through here. So I do appreciate that. But I do hate the overblown nature of the cinematography. And I think the comedy kind of throws it off just a little bit. But I do think that for the most part, the action sequences are directed fairly well. And I do think that the movie kind of moves along at a fast pace. What about you, Spilio? What do you think about the style and structure?
I didn't like the blue tones and the bright white, the bleach, effect and all, because I did think, I remember hearing Spielberg saying that he really wanted to make a dirty movie. So, but does dirty mean bright colors? I don't understand. So I don't know where that was coming from. The comedy did throw me out, like I said before, a couple times because it was supposed to be a very deep subject and all, I caught myself, looking at the clock, in the middle of it, because again, with the eyes, that really threw me off because, like I said, I lost my job last year at fire rescue. Dude, they changed my password as soon as I was leaving the door. Mm-hmm. So that kind of threw me, and those eyes rolling down the hill. I thought I was watching Three Stooges. What the hell, man? But I did like the acting. Like Tom Cruise was, and I wish we did get more scenes with, what was his son's name? Sean? When they were at the pool, when they were talking, I thought that was so nice. He was really like a father figure. He was laughing at him, his son. And I wish we got more of that, the one thing I did like a lot in this movie is that Tom Cruise's character was a very flawed guy. He wasn't a superhero, he wasn't this number one cop. Well, I guess he was, but he had a secret and all stuff like that, which that part I enjoyed. I did enjoy that. I enjoyed most of the acting and all. I did not like the caretaker of the Procogs. What the hell was the? I don't what was he? 12 years old,
Yeah.
acting like an idiot. I didn't like that, but I thought everybody else was good. Um, I wish it was a half hour shorter. I think that would have made a better movie, a little bit more tighter and all stuff like that. But I can see where Spielberg was trying to do with the bright lights and all stuff like that. And the CGI was thrown like here and there. It wasn't really in your face. You know what I mean? He did use it in little parts and all stuff like that to make it look more realistic. I do agree. The house at the end was like totally fake. I was like, it was lopsided. It was like, what the fuck, man? But anyway,
It was a Bob Ross painting, is what it was, man.
it is, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I wish it was a little bit more serious than it was, but overall, I thought it was okay. Good.
All right. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the style and structure?
Well, I kind of like the style because this movie is supposed to like be presenting this kind of utopia, this kind of future utopia. So like I understand why it's so bright and like it's got a very sterile metallic look to this future. Like it's supposed to look like a future where like everything's solved. There's no dingy dive bars or any of that kind of crazy shit you see in like most sci-fi movies. This movie reminded me a lot of Total Recall, which is a movie I love. And it kind of has the same kind of narrative too. With the man on the run, but in this case, he's really on his own. Like Arnold had, he had some companions to help him along the way. But Tom Cruise is really on his own in this one. But so I get the, I understand why they made it look less cyberpunk than like Total Recall or Blade Runner. It made it look a little more sterile. But, it is a kind of, I can see why, people wouldn't like that kind of aesthetic because it is very bland in its own way. Even though I think that's kind of like an intentional thing, just to kind of hammer home the point that, this world it's like a facade, it's like this idea of like, everything is so good, but like, once you scratch under the surface, you start to see like, that things aren't quite as they seem.
Yeah. Well, and like John said, Spielberg did say, I wanted this movie to look dirty, right? All right. Well, your perfect example is another Philip K. Dick adaptation, Blade Runner. That's a future that looks dirty and lived in and gritty.
Total Recall's like that too.
Yeah, and Total Recall is like that, and that's a movie we're going to be covering next year. So I'm very, very excited. We're going to do a Philip K. Dick movie every single year until we run out, right? So there's some really good ones. Really good ones.
Is it true that it started off as a sequel to Total Recall, and then they changed it and all, but it started out as a Total Recall sequel?
Really? What a terrible idea.
Yeah. It was something.
So Arnold just becomes like he goes into pre-crime or something?
Well, it was supposed to be a different script, and then Arnold couldn't do it. So then they went to this one, and there was a bunch of rewrites and all stuff like that. Like Matt Damon was supposed to be Colin Farrell. So
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Well, that's a interesting. That's an interesting film and another reality for sure. Checking that one out. Arnold Schwarzenegger in Minority Report.
How awesome was that?
Directed by like what's his name? Paul
Verhoeven.
Yeah.
Oh, Verhoeven would have been awesome. It was all satirical. Yeah.
And Joe would have liked that movie too.
Yeah. Well,
I would have loved if not shit director Paul Verhoeven directed this.
There have been more titties in it for sure. So
absolutely.
Speaking
and
of like
any meaningful like philosophy or thoughtfulness and not a bunch of fluffy bullshit, you know. But
Okay. Speaking of fluffy bullshit and lots of titties, Link, what about you? What do you think about the style and structure?
Oh God.
That was awesome.
I enjoy it overall. I mean, this is coming from like 2002, and I'm trying to think of like movies coming out around that time that weren't popcorn. You know, Reign of Fire came out that same year. Reign of Fire was just this is probably a little way more thoughtful than Reign of Fire. You had Attack of the Clones.
I'll give it that.
I like Reign of Fire.
You know,
It should when they do this on 4K. That's the quote from Joe Corallo. A little bit more thoughtful than fucking
Reign
Reign of Fire.
Reign of Fire. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy Reign of Fire as well. You know, Matthew McConaughey, bald with the beard, jumping at the dragon just to get fucked up.
Christian Bale, hell yeah.
Pre-Batman, he was very funny. But overall, I think it's effective. It's a good. I think you said it best. This is a good popcorn film. And someone else in the chats earlier said it's based on rewatchability. I didn't have a bad time rewatching this, and I think you made a good point about it. Even though it's 2+ hours, for the most part, it doesn't seem like that. They could trim certain scenes here and there, like a lot of the fluff, but it flies by for a 2.5-hour film. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and one of the things I do like about the film that's different, like an intentional decision to go different than the short story, the novella, is they set it in Washington, D.C., right? And Spielberg says the reason is because if we're in the future, things may be looking different, but I want it to be grounded in reality. Washington, D.C. will always have the Washington Monument. It will have the Capitol building. Those are things that we can put in there to like ground it in some kind of way. But there's still an element of me where I'm like, it seems futuristic at parts, but not futuristic in other parts, which seems weird to me. But at the same time, I do appreciate that. Yeah, like, okay, like 20 years from now, we're not all living in fucking Jetson apartments. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's still like the old school stuff that's still going to carry over a little bit. So I think some of that kind of works. Joe, I feel like you've been holding back tonight. I don't want you to hold back. What do you think about the style and structure?
No, I mean, you're right, Robbie, because the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building are fucking going somewhere. Like,
they are.
Absolutely. There's no, like, landmarks in New York that are going to disappear anytime soon. So, but no, I mean, the style works sometimes. Again, I don't like the colors a lot of times, like the lighting and all that, but it did work for me a lot of the scenes where the cops are coming in on their jetpacks and stuff like that. I thought like a lot of that worked. I thought the CG with the monitors and the hands and stuff like that. I thought that worked. That held up pretty well. The costumes were fine. I think the way they did Cars was stupid and didn't make any sense. Like that's like, is this supposed to be the year like 2200? Like what year is this? Like, it's like we're fairly close to when this movie is supposed to be happening at this point.
Like 2054 or something.
Yeah, we're nowhere close to having a whole like highway system that's adapted to like vehicles that don't exist, like all that stuff. That was weird. That was a weird leap. I feel like if you're going to do something like that, you have to set it further into the future. I feel like someone who had been alive as long as Steven Spielberg had been at that time would, be able to grasp an easy concept like that. But I mean, you got that, and then structure. The structure was pretty poor. A lot of it was starts with a bang. Like this is the thing. That beginning, the whole thing, the whole setup, I love it. I think it's expertly done. You could have just done that as a short film and just package it like that and put it out there. Then Spielberg thinks these drooling dumb fucks now need Colin Farrell to be like, gee whiz, guys, how'd you do all that? And then the whole movie grinds to a halt and holds your hand and explains what you just watched to you. Like, it is beyond insulting that the movie has that kind of structure. It's like, are you serious with me right now? You actually, you did the showing me and then explained it. And the movie does that a few more times, you know, throughout, where it stops, like again with the plants and, you know, crazy plant ladies, like, let me explain more of the movie to you. And it's so clunky and amateurish. It's like there are levels in this script that it's like, I feel like I'm back in college sitting through creative writing courses again, as the same guy we all make fun of behind his back is talking about like, this is a story about a detective, but it's in New York and it's a war between angels and demons. It's like, this fucking guy again. It was that all over. It's my God. Like, and then there's some decent twists throughout, but it's done so heavy-handedly. You might not know exactly what in terms of how the twist is going to go, but they lay it on so thick. You're basically like, oh, Tom Cruise is being accused. They're saying he's a murderer, or he's going to be a murderer. And it's like, and they keep hammering down, like, why would I kill? There's no way. It's like, because you found your son's murderer, you idiot. Why do I know that? I'm sitting here watching the movie and you didn't figure that out? Like the whole time he keeps going like, man, I better find my son, and I don't know what I'll do if I ever find his kidnapper or murderer. I could never murder. Like, he might as well have just said that, like, back to back, like the way the movie's structured. It's so just deeply insulting, I feel. And it, as a result, by the end of the movie, again, like this goes less from Steven Spielberg's clear contempt for humanity, and this goes more into Steven Spielberg being a coward. And to imagine having the gall to adapt a Philip K. Dick story and be like, it would be cute if the couple gets back together and they have a new baby. Like, Philip K. Dick would just be vomiting until he died if he was still alive.
Yeah.
If that's
in the short story, like the wife's like actively acting against Anderton, right? And shit like that. Like it's there's a lot more complexity with that relationship. But Philip K. Dick did not write very good marriages in his fiction. So I don't know what that means about him.
No, but like to adapt Minority Report, and the whole point of it is humanity's fucked either way. You're fucked if you have this pre-crime unit, and you're fucked if you don't. And for Steven Spielberg to take that and be like, oh, well, if they overcome the pre-crime stuff, then it's all happy and the world's going to be okay. It's like, what a coward. Imagine being that much of a coward.
I was going to say that.
I can't wait till you get to Steven Spielberg shows up to New York Comic Con. You get to run his panel. I cannot wait. Why are you such a coward? First question. What you're saying about the exposition, though, actually rings true. And one of the things I was going to say I liked about the film was certain elements of the way it uses exposition, right? Because it's telling stuff like, there's the dude giving the museum tour or whatever when Tom Cruise is trying to break in, right? Like, so you're getting some information there. There's all the advertisements, right? And stuff like that. And I actually like the exposition delivered to Colin Farrell because it's done in a way where Anderton has to kind of like, he has to defend pre-crime, right? But then you're right, dude. This movie does stop itself to explain what we just saw. And it is kind of insulting. But then when I think about Steven Spielberg, I'm like, no, that's kind of what he does. It's probably why his movies do so well, because most people are like, yeah, I understand that. The amber and the mosquito and the dinosaur, that kind of fucking thing, right? Let's like explain it, show it, and then do a little fucking cartoon documentary about it. What about you, Jelani? What do you think about the style and structure?
Man, I can't follow Joe. What the crap? Jesus.
I'm sorry. It's your birthday.
Well,
should have been.
You got a couple of my points in there, but I was gonna say something too. What a crappy dystopian future. I would not want to live in a future where everybody knows my eye and my living habits. I go to the Gap, be like, "Hey, remember when you bought them thongs?" And I'm like, "No, I wanted to keep that secret."
Bro, you live in that world. You live in this world though. You live in this world. Facebook's algorithm, like all the social media, like this movie is very
but not to
it prophesized a lot of shit, dude. And that's one of the things, like
that's true.
The way that targeted advertisements come at you now. Now, the difference is we're not looking at our phone in the middle of the fucking street and be like, hey man, you want to check out this porn site or these thongs? It's not like out loud or nothing.
Right. Like maybe I want to keep some of that stuff to myself. You know what I'm saying? So, screaming out what t-shirts I used to wear, that's just weird, Gap. Don't do that.
Nobody wants to be walking down the street and like a fucking billboard be like, hey, you like the last Nickelback album? Check out the new one.
I'm like, why are you telling me this? It's too impersonal. I would never want to live in this. And plus, if I thought about murdering somebody like 50 people gonna jump out from the windows and arrest me. Are you serious? And you're basing your entire thing this? And this was another thing I was gonna mention. Everybody's doing that. They're doing the happy ending shit. And then it should have been one last sentence and the crime and the murder started again. Something should have happened. We're like,
this is a prequel to Escape from New York.
Right. It turns into, hey, we're gonna dump everybody here. It's just it's so cookie cutter. It's so bland. It's a lame movie. It doesn't know what it wants to be. We've already said this numerous times. It really wants to be like this cutting, biting social commentary on the dystopian nature of precognition and pre-crime, and then it turns into it has comedy bits. It's very haphazard in what it's trying to do. It doesn't go far enough on certain subjects. It doesn't answer any questions about the kid. I would like to know what happened to John's kid. I don't know why. Please tell me what happened to John's kid. That would have been great if they thrown that in there. Why even have that as a story point if you're not gonna give us a payoff? There ain't no sequel to this movie. You killed Colin Farrell. I mean, the fact he figures it all out and he's telling the killer what's going on. I'm like, you don't even give me a good payoff for that. It's just Max just uses his gun to kill himself, and he's just like.
But did you really need the details of how the kid died though? The loss of the child is the emphasis of that. The loss of the child. Period.
I want to know what happened to the damn kid. If you gonna make this dude the killer of the kid, at least have the actual killer kids be actual somewhere out there, and the precog figures it out. Or something. I don't know. Make it work. Make it work, Steven. So, huh? What?
His kid got set up before the pre-con thing happened.
I know.
It's more of the motivation for why he's so into
why he is. He's John Walsh. He's John Walsh from America's Most Wanted. And basically, what if John Walsh had this?
I like that.
Here is the big plot hole with all of that. You're telling me homicide and all this is down 99% or whatever it is. So you don't have a couple of guys you could put on that case?
Right.
Seriously? No one?
We're just not doing that.
That's crazy.
I mean, sometimes people, and there is nothing that comes up. People go missing. That shit happens.
And you dump an entire multi-billion-dollar
But here's the thing.
It's so weird.
I get what you're saying. Maybe if that's the case, don't have the kid literally abducted, surrounded by hundreds of people.
and probably
Shit
cameras.
happens all the time.
It does actually.
Wait,
Yeah.
this is future world.
No.
I
This
get
is way in
everybody's
the future.
eyes. Everyone's
Super-
eyes.
It's not way in the future, Joe. It's like 5 years from now is when that shit happened.
No, but like this is supposed to be like you were saying, like 20, 50, whatever. Like they're already doing this stuff. There are tons of witnesses to to a cop's kid getting kidnapped.
Yep.
If a cop's kid gets kidnapped, they fucking find that kid. I'm sorry. That's how that works.
Yep.
Like
No matter what city, that kid's
Yeah.
getting found. Dead or
a white
alive.
kid,
A white kid.
a white
Yes.
cop's white kid
Yes.
gets kidnapped.
You ain't
They're
lying.
fucking finding that kid.
That kid getting found tomorrow. You ain't
Yeah.
lying. You ain't lying. And it's so dumb. It's so many dumb things that happen in this movie. It's so many just ignorant things. Damn it, Joe. Why are you right?
I want to see a movie. I want to see a show where it's just Joe and Jelani reviewing movies.
Just like, Jesus. It's such a mess. The movie is such a mess. And like because it's so long, you'd expect them to tell them the story. You'd expect it. Like the kid's murder should have been solved at the end of this movie. I mean, it'd been perfect.
You don't think that that's like a little bit of like, Spielberg, if the way Spielberg treats the audience, and I will agree with Joe, and I do think Spielberg dumbs down his content for his audience, and I do think that's one of the reasons why his movies are so successful, because I hate to say it, but I do think the majority of the film audience is pretty dumb. You know what I'm saying? So like that, I think that shows restraint actually on Spielberg's part, not to like fully develop that and show the mystery and reveal it and all that kind of stuff. I like the idea that we think we get that, but it's actually not that, right? I actually do like that bit.
Crap. All crap.
Who gives a fuck what happened to the kid? Like, what matters is the kid. The kid's just the motivation.
Yeah. Why do you
Not
care,
character.
Jelani? You fucking hate
Why do you
kids.
fucking
in
care?
movies, man.
I
You should
hate
be
kids. I hate this kid. This movie. Mommy won't let you can't kiss me on the lips. Only mommy can kiss me on the lips.
Teach
Shut
me
the
how to
fuck
run.
up.
The one person you never ask how to teach you how to run is Tom Cruise, because that motherfucker is so weird in all of his movies.
Yes. And he's running around.
Not
Yo,
Steven Seagal weird. It's still pretty weird.
I hate this stupid ass kid. But
Did the
still
Tom
solve
Cruise
this
chase
damn
scene
murder.
start in this movie?
Huh? What? Huh?
When did the Tom Cruise chase scene start? Was it this movie? Was this like the catalyst of the Tom Cruise? You get a chase scene in
He
every
didn't
one of
even
his movies
chase
ever since.
anything.
It's got to be like the first Mission Impossible, right? That's like
Yeah.
96 or something, right?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. When he's running on
yeah.
after he blows up the restaurant.
Days of Thunder.
Okay.
When he's riding,
He's running, and at the end of Days of Thunder with
he is with Robert Duvall.
right.
Starts it there. So he's like, I don't like this running
Freeze
thing.
frame it, and Robert Duvall looks like he's fallen. It's
Yeah.
so fucking stupid. I love it.
How do you end your movie like that? God, I hate Days of Thunder.
I fucking
Every time I
hate
think
freeze
about
frames. Though Risky
That is-
Business, did Risky Business
What?
have some freeze frames in it? I think it did, but it's a little bit more of its time. Whatever. It had Balky in it, so it's more forgivable. All right, it's time to talk about the music. All right, let's talk about the music. John Williams, who scores most of I almost said William Shakespeare for some fucking reason. Steven Spielberg's movies, right? So it's John Williams, and it doesn't sound like your typical John Williams score. This was the era where I think that he was trying to break away from that, right? Like, I think John Williams' best score is Catch Me If You Can, right? Because it's like jazzy, it's kind of fun. I love the music in this film, as far as like, if you listen to it isolated, it's got these wonderful, like, kind of like eerie, ambient, kind of like choral kind of vibes to it that I think really work for what I think the tone of this movie should be. But I don't feel like he scored this movie to the movie. It doesn't feel like the score works with the movie. So I love the music. I think it's one of some of John Williams' most solid work, but it doesn't work for the movie. And your job as a film composer is to do it. It's almost like he's trying to throw the gravity, the weight back into the story with the music, but it doesn't work. And I'm really surprised. And I know that Joe mentioned that the music at times and some of the comedic bits gets dumb, but I was almost expecting him to just to be like a dun 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 dun, because there's some of those moments that are in there, right? But I do think it works on its own, but it doesn't really mesh with the movie as much as I want it to, because I think the music actually has more of the tone that I would like to see in this movie. What about you, Spilio? What do you think about the music?
I actually didn't know it was John Williams till after I looked at it, because you're right. It was totally different from what I'm used to. And I didn't really notice the music that much while watching the movie. Nothing stood out except for one thing, and it's a personal thing. Was in the beginning of the movie, they had Moon River playing. My grandfather used to hum that song all the time. He used to whisper it by himself. So that brought back, a little good memory. But other than that, I thought the movie was actually flat for me. I really did. Nothing stood out. Not even when the reveal at the end, when you get the dun dun dun, I didn't even get that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Maybe doing what you said, listen to it separate to see how it is, but to go with the movie itself, nah, I didn't care for it.
All right. What about you, Brooks? What are you thinking?
It was all right. Like, it feels like a John Williams score to me. Like, it feels like him trying to do this kind of sci-fi, kind of ambient soundtrack with this kind of warbly kind of sound to it. But overall, it didn't stand out too much. I think it was pretty subdued, I guess. But
yeah,
it was fine.
There are moments that I was watching the movie. I'm like, man, the music's so good. Why is it so low right now? Right? I was like, why is this music not being able to take over and add effect to this film? Right? I don't know. What about you, Link? What are you thinking?
I think it was serviceable. Nothing really stood out to me. Maybe because it was subdued, like you were saying. But one randomly, even though the comedy at large didn't really work, there was one moment that I thought was really cool. Was when he goes in. I think he was going into the hotel or whatever, and he like walks up to the clerk and he's like turns the computer screen around and he's like, "Actually, I do mind." And so he like whips his gun out really cool, does a little spin, even though it's corny because you can't pull shit off like that in real life. But it was cool how he spun the gun. He was like, "What about now?" And that was just like one comedy scene I thought worked. But yeah, I think I might have to go listen to the score on its own. I think a lot of like the background noise or like the dialogue, I guess the actors overpowered the music because I really didn't take too much notice of it.
Yeah,
but it was
and
serviceable.
it's basically a chase film, right? And the music like it helps. I just feel like the music is like misplaced. I don't feel like John Williams was like really scoring to the film and more scoring to the idea that he had of the film in a way. But you brought up another thing that I do want to point out that I like is I love those sonic rifles that they like spin around and like blow fucking people away.
Awesome.
Like, that's just pretty fucking cool. I think that's good. That's the best movie prop since the Talk Boy in Home Alone fucking 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What about you, Joe? What do you think about the music?
Well, I'll also agree with Link on that with the that scene at the hotel and all that. We're grabbing the hotel where that was cool. I really that worked for me. There's not too much else to say, I feel, about the music. I mean, that's really what it is. I think there's moments like during some of the chase scenes, walking through like the mall where like the music is kind of like adding to that a little bit, but yeah, overall it feels like they just kind of describe stuff to John Williams that he would need without having like seen the film or anything. It was just kind of like, yeah, sure, I can come up with some music like that, and yeah, it feels too much like an afterthought and not having enough intention. And while I'm here too, I have more Folio Society books from these editions from Philip K. Dick. It's a Scanner Darkly and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Oh, nice.
And it's the paper is just gorgeous, and there are these incredible like illustrations that are like peppered throughout it, and it's
Oh wow.
so good. It's an incredible way to read it, and A Scanner Darkly is probably my favorite Philip K. Dick novel. If we're throwing in short stories, I'd have to really rack my brain, but A Scanner Darkly is just so good. And the fact that the guy who wrote A Scanner Darkly had to have Steven Spielberg adapt one of his short stories and give it a nice ending just makes me sick to my stomach.
I'll tell you this. I think Scanner Darkly is a good adaptation as well. Like the Richard Linklater one. I do like that. But by the way, this was like $3 at the thrift store, Joe. How much you pay for that folio? Fucking.
Oh, it's like, like I spent money because Philip K. Dick is worth it for me,
I agree. Valis is one of my favorite novels of his. I really love that one. I'm glad that nobody's ever tried to fucking actually adapt that, because that's a good one. And I thought the Man at the High Castle series was okay. A little boring at times, but a little boring. But man, I love some Philip K. Dick. I cannot wait to have more. And the best music in one of his adaptations is definitely Blade Runner. I mean, like,
oh, for sure.
Like, how do you not think about Blade Runner when you think of Philip K. Dick adaptations in a film, And John Williams took none of that, I think, right? So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Took none of that, and at least Blade Runner, where there are moments in it, like we were talking about, where it doesn't quite reach the levels of the novel. At least Ridley Scott had the decency to fundamentally change directing forever, It's like, if you're, it's like Spielberg, if you're going to do that, at least make the movie like, inspire multiple generations of filmmakers or something. Geez.
Well, and the interesting thing to think about Blade Runner and Philip K. Dick and the adaptations of Steven Spielberg, Ridley Scott, 1982, Blade Runner was a flop, and E.T. was the biggest film of the fucking year. And so that led us to Minority Report.
Sure did.
What about you, Jelani? What do you think about the music?
Blade Runner sucks.
What? What did you just say?
I really hate that movie.
Get the fuck out.
Get him out of here.
He was
Get him out of here.
I fucking blocked that shit out, bro.
We were on that screen together,
and I said I hated it then.
Yeah, I'm starting to remember it now, man. But that's like a trauma event that you bury deep in your subconscious. You don't want to talk about.
Blade Runner is hot garbage, just for the record.
What about 2049?
How's anybody supposed to take you seriously now? For
you're a dumbass, bro.
Fuck you.
Brooks, you're a dumbass, bro.
You're embarrassing me.
I don't care.
I feel embarrassed for you right now.
I don't give a shit. That movie sucks. Every
Say
ending of it,
so fucking stupid, so fundamentally stupid.
Fucking stupid ass shit. 2049 was better. It looked better too.
Oh, get the fuck out of here! That movie was bullshit, man.
Fuck that
movie's like, let's explain the fucking ambiguous fucking nature of Blade Runner. Let's fucking explain it for everybody.
Our Blade Runner review. I trash it then. I trash it
now.
Fuck
you, Jelani, dude. You're pissing me off right now.
God damn! I'm glad I said yes to the screen.
Anyway, the music is mid. It's hot trash like Blade Runner is. You can pass on the next one now. That was some bullshit. Yeah, it's mid. It's John Williams. It's John Williams at his most mid. You can't even recognize it. Like, I was like, when you said it was John Williams, I was like, really? That was John Williams?
He does every Spielberg movie.
I know, and it's weak. The fact that it's weaker than AI. I'm like, at least I can remember some AI tunes.
You think AI is better than this fucking movie?
The soundtrack.
Get the fuck out of here, dude. That's fundamentally stupid, as Brooks would say.
Runner. God damn it. Blade Runner is trash.
Bro, I was a little on your side tonight, but now I'm not, man. Fuck you, bro. Your birthday's over,
I'm
man. I ain't got nothing. I got
Your birthday's over.
All bets are off, bitches.
Crash and burn.
Now I want to double down on what Steph said. Why do you got to know what happened to the fucking kid? Are you stupid? Like, come on, man. What the
Fuck
fuck?
that kid. Fuck that kid. He ain't shit.
Fuck.
No way.
Why you gotta do that with Blade Runner? That's like one of the best movies of all time. Fuck
Not
you,
really.
man.
Nah, fuck
God
that movie.
damn.
Fuck that bullshit.
Fuck.
Movie.
And I
Every bit of it.
whatever.
I mean, how in the hell did you forget that I hate this movie? You've forgotten I hate this movie like since
I
like,
always forget that Jelani
like,
hates Blade Runner. I'm always like, bro, Blade Runner, right? And he's like,
Blade
no, I
Runner's
don't
the
like that
best,
movie. I'm
man.
like,
Oh,
what are you talking? I willfully
This cut-
fucking ignore
this
that.
fucking cut is better than this cut. But
The
then if
final
you
cut
put
is the
this
way to go. What the
final
fuck
cut-
ever, man? Whatever.
you
All right,
put
we're not here
the
talking
So
about
the
Blade
final
Runner.
cut is the way.
The
Yeah.
final.
Bullshit. Who gives a shit? I gotta
God
watch all
damn
of
it.
them. Why do I have to watch a movie? That's just like Ben Affleck movies. Why the hell I gotta watch the director's cut of a Ben Affleck movie to get the Ben Affleck movie? His movies are trash. The end.
The top is a great Affleck movie.
Trash.
Castliar, we love Edge of Tomorrow here. We reviewed that
Yeah,
a
it's
couple years
beautiful.
ago. It was really good.
It's great
And I love the
Yeah, I love
Adjustment
Edge
Bureau.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And I love the Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there are movies out there.
fuck. I'm
Yes.
like fucking twisted up
time.
now, man. Like you
Every
just
time.
like fucking riled me up. I feel like Joe watching Minority Report. By the way, Joe, very forgiving of all the plot holes in Legend. Whatever, I'm just gonna say. So,
Yeah.
I was very clear that I was in it because the style was. If the style in this movie was out the ass like Legend, then yeah.
yeah, if we had Tim Curry like dressed up, like as the old man at the end too, that would have been better too. Right?
That would have been
All right.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right, fuck. It's time to talk about the theme of the movie. This movie's got some interesting topics that it's diving into. Spilio, to you, what is this movie speaking? What's it about?
Well, one thing I would say, free will. That's it. I think that's all it is trying to say. And you said it before. We're fucked if this works. And if it doesn't work, we're fucked. So what's the difference? So I think that's what it's trying to say. That I don't know if you guys got this and all, but maybe because watching it new for the first time, that the police they have too much control now, these days, and I think this movie is saying that also. The only thing that threw me off about this movie is that the malls in the future in 2054 are doing awesome, but the malls today are not.
Yeah, they're dead.
There's that line about going to Radio.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're really
yeah.
dead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing that threw me off for a little. But, sorry, but yeah. So that, for me, short and sweet. That's it.
Yeah, free will versus like predestination, right? It's like,
Exactly.
do you
Yeah.
actually have any kind of say in the events that unfold in your life, right? I was watching something earlier and they brought up a good point with this. They were like, is it your choice what food you like? Or is that just something that's inherent in your nature for some reason, right? And it is interesting because, yeah, some people don't like certain foods. Is that a choice or is that just a predetermined, experience, right? So
Right.
I think that this movie dives into that just a little bit. It doesn't get super deep into it, but it's definitely there on the surface. What about you, Brooks? What are you thinking?
Well, this movie came out after a little historical event that some of us can never forget. It was September 11th, 2001, and in the wake of that event, like a lot of things happened, like regarding personal privacy and surveillance state stuff, and like a lot of movies this time are like Phyllis. And this movie does have a lot of that, is of how far are we willing to, how much are we willing to give away for this idea of security? It's kind of like the Patriot Act got passed after 9/11, just on the basis of like, this fear, that was in everybody of, like, oh, what if this could happen again? We need these government eyes everywhere. So like, we were willing to like, give that up. And it's like, and this movie is kind of like, would we like allow these, these bureaucrats and these like politicians to make the decision to punish somebody for something they hadn't even done? And like, how far are we like, is it not enough to simply stop the crime? You also have to punish somebody for the crime that they don't even get to do. It's like a weird, this idea of like, like how do you punish somebody for a crime that they would have done? And like, could you not just like, maybe like, you didn't get away with it, but, you could give a punishment, but like, a punishment that's more rehabilitative, to ensure, that somebody like, and like if you get caught like by a pre-crimes unit, so you're gonna be like, oh, so I can't fucking get away with a crime. So like, I think that's the whole idea behind pre-crime is that, the fact that people know that if they even like consider committing a crime, that they'll get arrested, keeps people from committing crimes. But, and it's also like, but there's always going to be like, crimes of passion and stuff like that. There's always going to be the guy whose wife cheats on him and he like, he just flips out. But it's like, how, like, would we let this happen is kind of, I think, what this movie is asking. What this is kind of like the whole theme of the story is like, would people be willing to like give up this much for the idea of like, a utopia?
Yeah.
For safety. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Link? What are you thinking?
I think John made a good point earlier about like predetermination versus free will. What is someone really predetermined to do? Like, there's Tom Cruise obviously proved that wrong at the end when he's supposed to shoot the dude. Timer goes off, he doesn't. I mean, it still happened in a certain way, but yeah, I can't get too deep into it. It wasn't that deep of a film, but it was fun. But yeah, I think it's definitely predetermination versus free will is a theme.
Yeah. And they actually, that payoff at the end when he decides not to shoot the guy and he reads him his rights, there's a deleted scene that undercuts the impact of that fucking moment because there's a deleted scene where Tom Cruise says, I haven't read anybody their Miranda rights since we started pre-crime. And so it's the first time he does it since, right? Which to me would add more impact if that was actually still in the movie, but it's 2.5 hours long. Maybe take out a couple fucking jokes. Like why are we spending a while of him in that fucking apartment, eating the sandwich and the spoiled milk? What a weird bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, does not fit in. Imagine if in the middle of Blade Runner, you throw in like some kind of fucking comedic fucking Buster Keaton bit or something like that. Maybe Jelani would have liked it more. What about you, Joe? What do you think the movie's trying to say to you?
Before that, I got a question for everybody. Do you think the guy, what was his name, Crow? Do you think his family
Leo
got
Crow?
paid? Yeah, you think his family got paid?
Oh, no.
No, that dude died.
No. Oh, he died.
He died.
They got paid.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think so. Well, I think, I mean, usually in those situations, the family never gets paid, right? Like it's, the guy always does the
double
stupid
cross
thing. And, yeah.
How would he
just
know
curious.
he's dead?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Won't.
All right, Joe, what do you think about the theme?
I mean, the problem is, if there is a theme, it's completely undercut. Like, there's no point in having a theme in this movie if the ending and the way this movie wraps up doesn't explore the hard choices. They never do anything with the like, oh, so pre-crimes, what does that mean? Like it avoids that entirely. What does living under pre-crime in DC and then dismantling it look like?
Purgatory.
Yeah. What does
the purge?
Also, what like the world does the movie does a decent job at world building within Washington DC itself, but if pre-crime isn't around the rest of the country, And the way they talk about it is homicide is at epidemic levels across the country. And pre-crime didn't, like, we never see what that looks like. The characters, and as a result, the characters are never making a really serious choice. You know, like we don't see, you know, Tom Cruise and all these people have to actually grapple with like the reality of, okay, if this doesn't work, if this doesn't go through, what is the fate of the rest of the world? There's no other option. What are the other options? Like none of it is looked at or considered. So I think, unfortunately, this movie, as a result of kind of lobbing some thoughtful ideas and then not seeing them through in a thoughtful, mature, or adult way, deprives this movie of any meaning.
Okay,
No,
Jelani, what about you?
Damn. Yeah, it doesn't have any meaning. You're right. But at the same time, yeah, what happened to that fucking kid? This movie does say a lot about the free will and your choice to make the decisions that you need to make. At the same time, it's also about someone's determination to be right. Tom Cruise wants to be right, and he feels that, you know, this law works until it works against him, and then his need to be right supersedes the law, because technically, since he is the law and he sees his own crime happen, you know, I'm the law. It should be over. It should be done. The Exorcist 1. He gets his pre-crime unit nationalized. These 3 people are like in charge of all the crimes, all the pre-crime in the United States until one of them dies. And then they're going to be like, oh my God, what the fuck? So it's Max von Sydow's need to be right and making sure that pre-crime is a thing, even though it's a dumb concept in this dumb world that Joe does point out numerous times. It is so dumb. I'm sorry, it is dumb. Why do you base your entire crime unit on 3 fucking people that may or may not die soon? It's so stupid. I just hate it. I hate it.
You know who the president in the United States of America is, bro?
Who?
A dude who might die at any fucking time.
Anyone.
I mean, that's anyone, though, right? But
what else was funny is that this system wasn't in place for 6 years.
Yeah.
Now they're deciding, oh, maybe it's not good or not. What took freaking 6 years to decide that?
To decide this, yeah. It's
Yeah.
Also, on top of all of that, it's a movie about free will and determinism and all that, when literally this movie is about a couple of elites basically electioneering because they are deciding this immediately before people vote on their own fates. So it's actually fucking goes completely against you know, that it throws the concept in your fucking face. It's so appalling.
Dumb.
Exactly.
It's such an exceptional dumb concept to base an entire movie on. How the hell are you basing your entire movie on these 3 people who can predict crime for their lifetime?
God damn it! Why do we watch
no replacements? No,
because of Fable and Brian, and they could even be bold enough to show the fuck up tonight.
No babies are getting made. Nobody's growing more precogs. You just got 3 precogs, and then after that, what? We don't have crime. We don't have pre-crime anymore.
No, by that time, people have become so accustomed to not committing crime that, you know, that's a possibility that they would still need law enforcement, but not as much.
Yeah, it's still dumb as shit, though. It just doesn't make sense to me.
But also, what works in the short story and not this shitty movie is, what is stopping people from moving out of Washington, D.C.
Just leave D.C. Just leave. And I can murder.
I was thinking that too. I was like, I'm out.
Murder free. I'm like, one city has this one thing and nobody moves.
Yeah, Jason
We all
Voorhees is
stay
there.
in
He's
DC.
like, I'm out this bitch right now.
Okay, we're going.
Yeah,
I'm moving to Minnesota.
Pop, 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 pop.
like
There's a
in
movie
England,
about him
that-
just walking.
The murder capital of the world is 30 miles outside of DC.
yeah, absolutely. Also, I can't imagine our representatives allowing a system like that to operate where they live.
Right.
Because, you know, I don't know if you know this, but I don't think a lot of those people are always looking out for our best interests.
No,
So,
really?
No,
Really?
come on.
I don't want to be talking out of school here.
Simply line,
Very-
baby. Simply line. Jesus.
All right, for me, there's the attempt to do free will versus predestination and determinism and all that stuff, right? There's the attempt there, but I feel like they do undercut it with the ending, right? Where they have, oh, well, this dude was using the system to like, but here's the thing, maybe they're trying to make a statement about government corruption, right?
Sure.
If we, the people, allow the government to have this power over us, it will be abused. It will be flawed. And it will be, as Colin Farrell states, a human flaw. The system can
abused
be
now.
fine, right? But like it's the people involved, right?
Mhm.
Because what's the phrase? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know, that's like we learned that fucking shit in 3rd grade. You know what I'm saying? But it's fucking true. And nobody seems to understand that when it comes to government. Now, when I look at what this movie's saying to me, I look at repeated visual motifs. And I do like the visual motifs in the film. They're using eyes and they're using water, right? So the eyes, obviously on the surface, Big Brother's watching you or whatnot, right? Water is something murky, fluid, you know, like Bruce Lee said, be like water, because then nobody can predict your movements, right? So to me, when I combine those two together, it's like, so you're trying to see into the future. You're trying to see into motives. You're trying to see into somebody's reasoning for what they're doing. You're trying to predict the future, right? But you can't do that because you can't predict the direction of water, right? Like, and so
water.
yeah, and I'm sorry, what was that? Was somebody saying something? No, but okay. And so anyway, I thought somebody was saying something. So it's to me, it's like even like your own future, right? You can think who you are and how you react, but you don't know, right? Like when Anderton is like, I don't even know that guy, I'll never kill him. But then he goes out of his way to try to be there at the fucking moment
Yes.
to understand why,
We need to
right?
be right.
Right.
Yeah. The need to be right. That's something that's very prevalent in the film to me. But to me, it is speaking on outside of everything. And I will say this. Spielberg is on about this. In 2002, he's predicting the loss of privacy, right? In the special features here, he has a conversation. He goes, dude, he in the like the interview that they're doing with him, he goes, 20 years from now, there's going to be no privacy.
Mhm.
And it's true. We have no privacy. And it's even our thoughts, motivations, and intentions that are being scrutinized by the public right now. We have the Facebook algorithm can figure out when a couple's about to break up before the couple realizes they're not in love anymore. Right?
That's scary.
Are we
scary.
the outcome of our algorithm? Are we so predictable? Like, is it so easy to understand who we are? And Spielberg's proven it because he's dumbing down the concept for his audience. And I think it's kind of meta in a little way, unintentionally so. But I think looking back on it, it's a little meta when you think about predicting the reactions of the audience and what we need to change and what we need to do. Film does it all the time, but we are in the world now where we've lost our privacy 100%. And I'm not trying to be a crazy conspiracy theorist, but we all know that if we talk about something on Facebook, on IG, we get all these targeted ads towards us about what we're talking about, right? Bruh, I have literally just thought something and I see a fucking ad on my Facebook. Is that because they can read my mind, or is it because they can read my actions, likes, dislikes, and all that kind of stuff to know exactly who I am? And then that does add to the question of, do I actually make decisions based on me, or is it my gut biome? Is it the media influencing me? Like, what is making us feel like we have free will? What fucking is it? And like, I do think this movie doesn't go super deep into it, right? If Ridley Scott made this movie, a whole other ball game. You know what I'm saying? But Spielberg made it. Spielberg makes roller coaster rides for the public, right? And so I think it still works for what it's doing of its time, but it doesn't go as deep as I want it to. 100%. So, all right.
Robbie, though, a point of clarity. You were talking about how it's meta. Did you mean the concept of meta or the company meta?
Both.
Making sure.
Yeah, just making sure. A little bit of both, actually. I mean, I think it's unintentionally meta about that, right? Yeah. Where it's about like, you're going to lose your privacy. We know because of what you watch. We know because of what you like. We know because of what you dislike. We know because of who your friends are, what you're into, right? And it's really fucking weird when I see an ad for something that I just was literally thinking about. But then again, if Facebook throws an ad out to me for a new DVD collection, Jim and the Holograms, it's not any surprise to anybody. Sure. So, all right. Now it's time to rate the film. You out there in the chat, what do you think? Fable, who couldn't even be bothered to be here tonight, he's moving across the country, whatever the fuck that means. The film noir style is definitely well done, says Fable. You out there in the chat, though, out of 5, you digs, what do you give Minority Report? Spillio, kick us off.
All right, before I say that, well, I'll give it a 2.5, but I will give it a 3 if I can have that surgery to change my eyes so I can fucking see in 12 hours. You know, I would do that. Done. A 3.
All right.
Just so I can fucking see.
So what is your rating then? A 2.5 or a 3? Because you can't do that right now.
You know what? 2.5.
All right, a 2.5 from Spillio. What about you, Brooks? What you sitting on?
I give this movie a 3.5. Like, it's pretty average for the most part, but I think it does have a little something to it that puts it over, like, just an average movie. But it is very much for me an extremely okay movie in most respects. Like, I think it's one of Spielberg's more like meh movies, to be honest.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I don't think you've seen all of Spielberg's movies then. What about you, Link? What are you thinking?
I'm going to give this one, technically it's like a 3.5, 3.69. But because of the disdain for this film amongst the panel tonight, I'm going to bump my shit up to a 4. I think it's a very entertaining popcorn flick. Not every movie has to be life-changing or that deep, even if it stems from a deep concept. At the end of the day, it was entertaining. And sometimes that's all I can ask for. And I think that's what this movie was aiming for. So I think it succeeded.
One of my favorite things are ratings by spite. So like, absolutely, I love that. Sure. What about you, Joe? What are you thinking?
I was thinking when I first started the movie, I was like this. I remember this being like a 3.5 kind of movie. So, and then like once at the beginning, that first scene, I was like, maybe this is better than I remember it. And then it cuts to the show. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is like a 3.5. And then as I kept going, it just kind of dipped down. So I'm going to give this a 2.5, and I'm staying firm on that because I believe in free will, and I don't let other people's opinions of things dictate the direction of my life.
Or so you think, Joe. Okay. All right, a 2.5 from Joe. What about you, Jelani? What are you thinking?
I'm never watching this movie again. This is a 2. This movie reminds me so much of Blade Runner and just how bad it is. It's very sci-fi and very mid. And it reminds me just of Blade Runner and all the feelings that I get from it. and the sepia tone or the film noir is just like the first 15 minutes of Blade Runner. I just cannot stand it. There, I just had to put that out there.
This movie reminds me in no way of fucking Blade Runner, but all right, like whatever. Let's do that. I mean, it's adapted from a fucking Philip K. Dick work, but aside from that,
that's the difference.
I would have said, if you would have asked me like 2 weeks ago, hey, what do you give Minority Report? I'd be like a 4.5. I really like this movie, right? Rewatching it, it didn't hold up as much, but I'll go 3.5. I still think it's good. I think it's okay. I think it's a decent popcorn film that dives into a little bit, but it's. I would say that for a film that could go way deeper, it stays very surface level. But I do still enjoy the film, and I don't feel like I wasted my time. I'm glad I own it. I will watch this movie again at least one more time in my life. Is my idea. So yeah, I'm going to go with 3.5. So 3.5 from me and Brooks. A 4 from Steph out of spite, a 2 from Spilio, a 2.5 from Spilio, a 2 from Jelani, and a 2.5 from you, Joe. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a PCP average of 2.9166666679. So that's
Nice.
pretty solid. It's an okay movie, I guess. You know, it didn't wow us like Risky Business or Tropic Thunder for sure. That was the perfect score we gave for Cruise Choice so far. But I do think the movie's worth watching, but the story's more worth reading. And I think it's a sad fact, but more people have watched this movie than I think have read the short story.
Oh, by far.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
And the short story is incredible.
It is. And it's like, 40, 50 pages. Yeah. It's not that long. You can do it in an afternoon. It's easy.
When was it written? What year?
54, 56, something like that?
I think 56, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the 50s. So think about how prophetic Philip K. Dick was in his career.
Oh, yeah.
Philip K. Dick is the best sci-fi writer of the 20th century, in my opinion.
Yeah, 56.
I agree with that.
I was 2 years old. So.
Yep.
Fuck you. All right. Thus concludes our movie review for Minority Report. Coming up next week, it's going to be Manny's pick, and I haven't seen this one in a long time, so it's going to be interesting to see what we feel about Interview with the Vampire next week, y'all.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Antonio Banderas. I remember I watched this movie in the theaters, and I remember so it was my buddy, y'all know George. George's aunt took us to Interview with the Vampire, and at one point she looked over and she goes, "Oh fuck, this movie's not appropriate for y'all." And I was like,
she says, "Oh fuck."
I was like, "What the fuck, dude?"
This is my wife's Brittany. It's her favorite movie.
Really?
Ever. Yes.
Well, she might not want to watch the show that we did.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Two Gun and Fable, by the way, give it a 4. Fable gave his own pick a 4. Fuck you, Fable. You got to pick
Fuck you, Fable.
Yeah, man. You got to be like 5. 5 ever.
I don't know. I picked Days of Thunder, y'all. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really speak up.
It ain't
next week.
So you're
next
fine.
week. Interview with the Vampire. That's going to be very, very interesting. Also, join me for a very Patreon exclusive movie night on Wednesday night as I watch Top Gun. To continue the vibe of Cruise Choice, I'm watching Top Gun, a movie I've hated my entire life. And I'm going to watch it live on patreon.com/PCP on VHS, the way it was meant to be consumed. And then join me and Hammer Time Holeshoe and a few others. I think Steph's going to be there over at Blood Splatter Chatter Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. We're talking about Godzilla -1. I have needed a reason to watch that movie, and now I have it. So join us there. Interview with the Vampire next week. Top Gun on Wednesday night on Patreon. Godzilla -1 over at Blood Splatter Chatter on Sunday. Spilio, thank you so much for being here. Final thoughts?
Dude, this was awesome. I'm glad that you asked me to come by, especially after Joe and Jelani's thing. But, you know, I love being with Brooks. I love being with Lynx. Robbie, I love you, but you know how it is. But no, thank you for coming, for asking me, because I never saw this. And it was a total delight until Joe talked about it. So
Joe got there ruining movies for people
You
again.
ain't wrong, Joe. You ain't wrong.
that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, go back and listen. This dude fucking gush over Legend, by the way. All right, I'm.
I love.
Oh,
Legend.
yeah.
Oh, Joe, and let me tell you, it pissed me off because that weekend I watched the U.S. version, and then at the night that we were supposed to be on, I watched the director's cut, and I had my notes, I had everything, because there was so much difference that I didn't even know. Yeah, and then I lost fucking power. Goddamn Florida sucks ass. So I was so upset that I wasn't on, but I'm glad I got to be on with you and everything, because I love you. I love you all. You all look great, But anytime you have an opening, please, I'm the whore you can ask to join. Okay.
Absolutely. I love you so much, John. Thank you so much for being here.
I love you.
Brooks, thank you for being here. Final thoughts?
Me and Delaney, even though he's embarrassed me tonight with his opinions on Blade Runner, we do this thing called Go Figures. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to do it. The Blade Runner controversy may just shatter.
Split us all.
But we do this thing called Go Figure Reviews. And we recently did the Wolfsbane Build-A-Figure. We did the last three on that. We did the Red Widow, Black Winter, and what was the third one?
Icarus.
Oh, yeah, Icarus.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
I only did Icarus and Red Widow so far. I haven't put out I haven't put out Red Widow yet.
Yeah, so Black Winter is on the way then.
Yeah, they're coming.
And they'll be there for
and then we got plenty more stuff. We got a whole bunch of stuff, plus live streams and a whole bunch of fun shit. Check us out.
Oh, yeah. Brooks, I hope you can forgive Delaney, because we have
I don't know, man.
We have to.
It's okay, man.
I'm going to a dark place right now, bro.
It'll be fine. I mean, at least we'll fall like tears in rain.
This is how fucked up it is, though, man. If they did Blade Runner action figures, Delaney would be the first motherfucker to buy them. That's what's fucked up, man.
No, it wouldn't. Because
you would. You know who the first person I knew who bought a Ben Affleck Batman figure was you,
because
motherfucker.
I wanted the damn suit. I wanted the damn
what the fuck
Batman.
ever.
They still haven't made that suit yet. They still ain't made that suit. And
I think Delaney, I think you hate yourself, and that's why you hate Blade Runner. That's what I think.
I love me pretty good. I love me long time.
I love me long time. Yeah, that was my nickname in high school.
Love me long time. Yeah.
Steph, thank you so much for being here, man. You're a doll. You're a treasure. Final thoughts. What you got coming up, man?
Every Wednesday, Brother Stu and I over at Dr. Doom's Fan Club, we do a little show called Supreme Clientele, covering comics. And right now, we have taken a break from covering old arcs. Well, actually, no, I'm mistaken. We're doing Frankencastle this coming Wednesday, and then after that, I'm not sure what we're doing. We might be taking a break, but
what?
Yeah, come and check it out. No, we're not taking a break with the show, but we got to find out what old comics we want to cover. But yes.
Dude, call me.
Oh, yeah.
In the whole run?
Yes, call my people.
Okay. I got you.
Oh, wait a second. We got problems with Minority Report, but we're okay with fucking revisiting Frankencastle. What the fuck is wrong with y'all?
What the fuck?
Yeah. That's my man, John.
Yeah, Steph, let's talk.
Glad to be here. You guys are all great.
Punisher is better than that shit. The Bernie Wrightson shit's better than that, man. Whatever.
What?
You like Frankencastle, brother?
Yes.
Like, out of all the Dark Reign era Marvel stuff you could do, you do Frankencastle?
Dude, it was awesome.
So bad.
It was so
thank you, John.
bad.
I feel you
on
that.
Good. It was so good. You saw his body cut in pieces, but he still lived on. Castle forever. Castle forever. Come
I'm
on.
sorry, dude. Like, okay, give me the Bloodstone and I just miraculously heal over 3 pages. That's the bullshit that I can't fucking stand, dude. That's the one thing.
Come on.
You know what? It is what it is. The Punisher's the character they can take those chances with. You know,
Yeah.
they can pull a Soul Man with
Yeah.
them. They can Tropic
True.
Thunder, Frank
Make it
Castle if they want to. They
Angel.
can turn him into a Avenging Angel. They can
Yes.
Frankencastle him. It's ridiculous the shit they get away
Yes.
with Punisher.
Frank is the man. Exactly.
I just hope Billy Power Max is there. I'd like to hear his thoughts. What about you, Joe? What you got coming up, man? I know you got a big release this week. Then let me tell you something, bro. You need to be very proud of that. That's probably the best work of your career, in my opinion, man.
Thank you. No, I
Let's hear
appreciate
it.
that. And I think it is.
Let's hear it.
So my DC Comics debut is tomorrow. Yeah, I wrote a 10-page story in the DC Pride, a celebration of Rachel Pollack. It's paired with issue 70 of Doom Patrol with Scott Eaton art from Rachel. That's the introduction of both Coagulant Codpiece and Vertigo Visions, the Geek #1 one-shot, which I believe is Mike and Laura Allred's first DC work.
And never reprinted, right?
And never reprinted until
And
this
it's
time.
good.
It is such a good story. I love that one. I have my copy signed by Rachel, that one shot. But
Good job.
But
Yeah.
it's I got to work with Rye Hickman and John Workman, who was the original letterer for Grant and Rachel's run on Doom Patrol. And there's a beautiful introduction by Stuart Moore, who is also a lovely person. So you get a lot in this for $9.99. So
yeah, I think it's the best Pride comic this year, period.
Yeah.
If not ever. I think because you're collecting really important books from an underappreciated comic book writer who we lost, unfortunately, last year, right? A friend of yours, Joe, Rachel Pollack. And your story is in continuity and in modern day, following up the Dennis Culver run, which I'm really excited for. And I'm telling you, I'm going to DC, if anybody's listening, how about getting Joe Corallo to do a Doom Patrol book? Because I think that would be sweet.
Yeah.
Right there.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. Great work with Cliff in the book too, man. I really loved your characterization of him, man. He really
I was so like I was giddy when I got to write "Take a Picture, Pal, It'll Last Longer." Like, I was like, that's such a Cliff thing. I was
So let me ask you, Joe, from like behind the scenes. Did you go to DC or did DC go to you?
They asked me to do it.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice.
That's very cool.
Any more?
It's a little more complicated than that, I guess, but the short answer is they reached out to me. Yes.
Any more coming in the future?
We'll see.
Doom Patrol 2025 by Joe Corallo and Chris Burnham. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get it going. All right. What about you, Jelani? Thank you so much for being here, even though you fucking hate Blade Runner. This might be your last show ever on the fucking show. I forgot that you didn't like Blade Runner. It's okay.
Times.
Yeah. No, what you got coming up, man?
Of course, go for your reviews. Check us out, man. We just hit 409. We did Icarus, like we mentioned before. We're doing Red Widow. Red Widow will come out probably sometime tomorrow. We'll also do Black Winter for the Zabu wave of action figures.
Dude, they're running out of ideas in Marvel Legends, bro.
They really are. But
Red Widow and fucking Black Winter, like get the fuck.
We're using the last 3 because we did Wolfsbane, Cable, and Kazar and Zabu. But I was like, those are the only ones what people really wanted. We're doing the last week of the ones we don't want to do, and we have our thoughts on those. There are things that we like, and there are things that we absolutely despise. Probably some of our lowest rated stuff we've done in a while. But that's beside the point. Watch the videos because we need them watched. I need the 3,000 things and the 500 people to subscribe. So subscribe, damn it, please. I hate Blade Runner. Some future stuff. This is future stuff. I got a
thanking us, man.
Yeah, we finally got the right Psykill in the mail today. We're gonna review it. It's gonna be awesome. It'll
This
be the first-
motherfucker doesn't like Blade Runner, but he's gonna like all about the GoBots. You know, just think about that,
Right.
y'all. Just think about that. Okay.
Yeah, Blade Runner sucks. And we're also gonna do this bad boy.
Ooh.
So stay tuned for our Shield 3-pack. It's gonna be awesome from Hasbro.
Nice.
So yeah, check us out. Go Figure Reviews. We got it. Yay.
Yeah. Go check him out. At least a half of Go Figure Reviews enjoys Blade Runner and likes good films. So that's
The better half.
I like good films. I just hate Blade Runner, which is trash. 2049 is way better. How about that?
Shut the fuck. I'm sorry. You get the what the fuck are you talking about, dude? You're out of your fuck. You're talking
It
out of
looks
your
better.
ass.
It looks better. It looks better.
Whatever.
I don't care about the story.
All right. Next week, join us as Crew's Choice continues on with Manny's pick. Interview with the Vampire. We're doing a special bonus watch along for Crew's Choice with Top Gun. That's going to be Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Time at patreon.com/PCP. And then join me, Steph, and Hammer Time Holshoe and others over at Verno's channel, Blood Splatter Chatter for Godzilla -1. We're dipping out. And for my final thoughts, I can't think of a quote from this fucking movie.
No, because there's one.
No,
You
there's
didn't
one.
see that, did you?
Everybody,
Everybody runs. There you go, Steph.
Oh, there you go. Everyone runs.
Yep.
And it just still doesn't work, right?
Nah.
By the way, why McFarlane? Where's your Doom Patrol action figures? Come on.
He only does Batman. What are you talking about?
If only you could see what I see with your eyes.
I love it. Okay, here's one.
Where you'll go
Why do you
blind.
want your eyes back? My mother gave them to me. That's a pretty dumb line too, right? We'll see y'all next time, y'all. Thank you so much for dealing with this 2-hour fucking almost as long as this fucking movie, but not quite.
Why
All
did
right.
we spend this long?
I don't know.
Longer than we did on Cats, brother, somehow, for some reason. We're dipping out. See y'all next time.